Go ahead and hit that like button if you like talking to Cooper Mays half as much as I do, because I really enjoy it from week to week. Cooper, how we doing?
Great, great.
I
Never can complain, never.
I bet you are great. And I was just thinking as the intro was playing, physically, how much better do you feel from head to toe in mid January as opposed to mid October or mid November?
There's no comparison, honestly. I mean, there we played a long stretch, man. I mean, there was a good like I think we had our bye week, week 4 maybe, and then I mean that's a long season, especially with I don't know who makes our schedules, but they need to be checked on or reprimanded or something, because we go through the gauntlet with the bad.
You did. You had the buy that was fantastic. I believe it was after Florida, and then I'm looking at the rest of it. I'm like, holy goodness! It,
Yeah, it was very very brutal, no doubt about it.
it was, and so a couple of things I wanted to dive into today, and Tennessee has midterm enrollees coming in. They have transfer players coming in as well. I want to talk about when you first stepped on campus because it was a totally different and environment. But let me ask you this first. You talked about how you wanted to be more of a vocal leader. Does that kind of start with these guys when you guys get back together next week?
Definitely. I think it starts whenever just workouts start and we kind of get to be around each other. Um, planning on planning on being the type of guy that I have to be a leader every day.
Who are some other guys you think that could take that next step that were maybe I don't want to say along for the ride, but were somewhat leaders and now are preparing like you to step up and be more leaders?
I just think it's probably going to be everybody. I mean, specifically, I can talk about offense mostly, but just guys that are in my class, 2020, guys that have played a couple years of ball that have gotten up there to be seniors and or redshirt any type of fourth year player, anybody that's getting older in the ranks, anybody could fit into that role, especially that have been playing good ball.
When you showed up to be a Vol, um, you come just like most other people, except for in transfers now. But you come from high school, and I know you knew the program. But what was that like the moment that you stepped on campus? Because I wasn't an athlete at all, but I still remember my first day on campus. What was that like for you?
Really, really exciting. I mean, there's no feeling like it. Just having your first day of, I mean, I guess it feels like freedom at that time. You're going into your first day, especially when I came because it was right when the beginning of off season came. So I came in like January 4th, I think was my first day. So I mean, just the feeling of being able to be in your own space, nobody's asking you where you're at, your mom's not texting you, when are you going to be home and all that. It's a really exciting time.
Yeah, I think my mom texted me, "You need to make sure you don't come back home." I think that was what what she texted me, to be real honest with you. Actually, we didn't have text back then, but I'm sure she sent a pigeon letter or something.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
so is it at all, are you taken aback, or did you know the facilities well enough to know that you were stepping into a pretty big time program?
I was very familiar. I would say I always tell people when they ask me about my recruiting and stuff, like I was a very different type of situation, I guess, in general for recruiting. A lot of kids, take a few visits and that's about it. They see the school. But for me, I had been around it kind of my whole life, especially, my whole high school experience. I was around there pretty much like every month, I guess you could probably say somewhere around in there without the dead periods and such. But I was a local kid, so I knew exactly what I was coming into.
Were there any guys in particular that you recall that either, put their arm around you or said, "Hey, let me show you the ropes"? Was there anybody that stood out?
Probably Trey Smith. I mean, Cade and me and Trey had known each other for a really long time before that, probably some years. So that was one thing, but You can you can talk to Trey, and Trey will even tell you that, I'm like his little brother. So he kind of took me under his wing and everything. And it was he's a great guy. So
Be it your brother or Trey, what was the best piece of advice that you got when you walked in the door?
um I'm not really sure who told me, but I think the best advice you can get as a young guy in college football is just do everything you can to have people not talk about you, if that makes sense. I mean, most people probably think you should come in there and like make people talk about you and turn heads and stuff. But I think the best advice you could give like an 18-year-old kid coming into college football is just do everything right and don't make anybody have to call you and single you out or whatever. So that's probably it.
So the first step's the weight room. How did you compare to guys that had already been in a college system? What was your strength like compared to them?
I was right on par. I was stronger when I came into college than I am now. I would say. In certain lifts, especially in bench press. When I came into college, my foot was broken. There was a bone in my foot that was broken, so I couldn't do any lower body. So I was doing straight upper body. But my bench was like the strongest thing. Like I could hit like 400, like 405. I think I hit one time in high school. So I was really strong coming into college. But you know,
Did that get you noticed pretty quickly at 405 as a freshman? That's pretty impressive.
I mean, I guess they know everybody at UT kind of knew me already. I wasn't like I had been around the program so much that kind of everybody knew what I was about and kind of what I could do. So nobody was extremely surprised, but I think I fit in really well with the older guys when I first got there, and I could play and I understood football. So I think it kind of stood out to a lot of the people on the staff. So that was nice.
How quickly can you tell when somebody because at the high school level, you can be an athletic superstar, not you, but rhetorically you. You can a person can be an athletic superstar and stand out, but that doesn't mean that he knows football. So, Cooper, I'm curious, how quickly can you determine if a transfer or a high school player, if he really grasps football from a bigger perspective? Does that make sense?
Right, yeah. Definitely, I would hold, somebody that's transferred to a different center than high school because people don't really understand. Like, there's such a big jump between a high school and like a college football player's, knowledge of the game and everything, and you don't really start to understand the game as much until college. But you can definitely, I mean, as probably as much as a normal person, talks to somebody and thinks, they come to a conclusion pretty quick off of talking to somebody if they're intelligent or not, probably, or at least I do. I feel like I can tell how intelligent somebody is by talking to them sometimes pretty quickly, and it kind of seems the same way in football. If you're good in the classroom, you can probably be good at football for the most part.
So, you come in and everything's hunky dory. You're going to be an all SEC freshman, all SEC more than that, and everything, and the plans laid out. And then there's this thing called COVID, which I'm sure you heard about. Um, what was, I mean, when that hit, what's the feeling around the team when it hit around March 2020?
I would personally say that the team was worried. I think the team was worried all the way through the season. Honestly, I mean, I think a lot of people in college football didn't really know what was going on. I mean, from the way we looked at it and the way kind of everybody thought about it is, if you got COVID, you died. Like that was kind of what people thought because the only people that we knew that had COVID were the people that were dying from it, and they would, realize that was the cause of it. But then as more time went on and the more that people got COVID and were ending up okay from it, I think a lot of the fear dissipated. But at first, I mean, I was scared. I'll say that. It was pretty new to me. It was pretty crazy. I'd never seen anything like that in my time being alive. That is, like shut down the world, kind of per se.
No, me too. I mean, the other only one in my lifetime would be 9/11. where just something happened that was just off the charts, and as far as from a news perspective. I still remember Kirk Herbstreit early, and I don't take my virus advice from Kirk Herbstreit necessarily, but I do remember, you're talking about the baseball season, all this stuff, and fairly early in the conversation, he said, "Hey, this could be one of those things," and this sounded outlandish at the time,
Yeah.
that could affect the football season. We're like, "No, this will be over in 6 weeks." When did you start thinking that this could affect your freshman year?
It really hit me when, so we started out, it was spring break. So they just kind of we went on spring break, and then I thought, okay, we got a week off, I stayed home because it was really starting to go around that it was going to hit like Florida and all the destination spots for spring break. So I was like, okay, I stayed home. I thought we were going to be back that next week, and they told us, they were like, just stay at home for now. And we were kind of asking, what's the timetable, like when are we gonna come back? And people don't I mean, people know how serious college football is, but people don't realize, like, you don't, like, these coaches don't let you, like, off the hook for anything. Like, if they have if they have a minute, like, they're gonna get like a minute and 10 seconds. They're gonna take all the time that they can get. So when they told us to stay at home, and when we asked, like, when are we gonna come back, they were like, we don't know. Like, it doesn't we have no clue how long this will take. So that's when I kind of realized, like, oh shoot. Like, if they're gonna let you not come back and not have a timetable for return, it's very serious, because these coaches, they don't play about, getting prepared for the seasons.
Gosh, I want to ask you what you did during that time when you couldn't be together as a team. It's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. And I'll tell you what, if they need to take a look at your HVAC unit, they'll do the service on it. If you need a brand new one, they're going to do that if they have to. But with their integrity, they're not just going to go out there and pitch HVAC units. They want to make sure that you get what you need. And City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years of experience, integrity matters. So what was your typical take me through a typical day or week when you're not allowed to be around the facility? I mean, do you work out on your own? Are you in the backyard doing, line drills? I mean, what are you doing?
For the first little bit, I worked out at the house, and then, but like I said, I ended up having foot surgery, um, like probably 2 weeks before COVID hit. So I had to rehab my own foot basically, like, during COVID, from the surgery. So I was working out my upper body, and then, just making sure my foot stayed good and mobile and everything. I did that all on my own. And then kind of when I got up on my feet a little bit, that's when people kind of realized, like, yeah, COVID's serious, but, like, there's a lot more people getting it that are okay. And then I kind of went back to working out in, like, a real gym. And then, um, really all my days consisted of is I would work out every morning, and then just hang out with my friends, be out at the pool, maybe go out on the lake, just hanging out. That's I had a great time during COVID. I had no qualms with COVID personally.
Yeah, I managed to dodge it as well, and I was undergoing a surgery at the time too. But um, wait, did you guys? I'm trying to remember back. Did you guys have virtual meetings either during spring practice or something? How did those things work?
Yes, we met virtually, and it was not great. It was it was hilarious though. Honestly, looking back on it, it was some of the funniest, like, football meetings of my life. I firmly enjoyed it. 'Cause it was just like a whole different time in college football. Like, nobody had ever experienced anything like that, and, like, nobody was able to, like, get off with the stuff that we could get off with. Like, we were joining, like, the Zoom meetings, and people would be on boats and stuff like that. I mean, you just, because nobody knew what was really going on, and there was no way for anybody to be held accountable to anything. So it was just like, it was just not productive at all. I mean, nobody knew how to use Zoom. Nobody had ever learned, like, through a Zoom, and definitely our coaches had never, put that much stock. I mean, you got to look at our staff was like real country, and just some old school coaches, they were not invested heavily in technology, so they were not doing well with it.
So, how many productive meetings do you think you had via Zoom in that spring practice period when COVID hit?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've had a productive meeting on Zoom from 2020 to 2023. I mean, Zoom meetings, I just my mind doesn't I can't lock in enough, man. I think I wrote a paper about this when I was, doing my early enrollee stuff. The average, the seconds of attention span from, like, 1990, I think, to till now has dropped from, like, 11 seconds to 7 seconds. So we've lost, like, 4 seconds of attention span within, like, 20 years. So I mean, I think everybody's heading towards, not being able to focus, and probably the majority of people. I feel like ADHD will be, like, the new norm in a little bit. We're so stigmatized, like, there's so much stimulation of our brains, it's terrible for you.
No, I totally agree. And you and I were talking about cell phones and getting away from them before we started the show. But you're fantastic on this show, so you obviously have you don't have ADD.
I don't know, some days I feel like I do. But I do good. I can talk to people, but, like, even right now, I've got, like, a Rubik's Cube going, like, underneath the desk while I'm sitting here talking to you. So I guess I'm a little bit I don't know what you wanna call it. I'm surviving. That's what I'm doing.
Well, you're fantastic on the show week to week, and it's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. How fast can you turn that Rubik's Cube into,
I can't solve it. I just mess with it. It's like, I don't know.
have you gotten to the point where you've broken it and put it back together? Because that's what I did when I was your age.
N I didn't even know you could break it, man. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You can break it and put all the pieces together, and it's a total cheat code. That's
I may be when. Oh goodness. Look at me here.
that's like cheat code circa
I
1982.
know I might be able to solve it now. I've never solved one before. I'm gonna bring it out there to my mom, and she's gonna go crazy.
Well, take care, buddy. We'll talk to you next time we talk to you. You guys will be all grouped up, and we look forward to that. He's Cooper Mays. He's fantastic. It's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.